eclectic combination there?
Yes, quite. After we had proposed this the last time in October, we've had an opportunity to meet with our guidance counselors, and they had brought up a couple very good questions. And one of them was that if the students had taken the aquatics and the health in the same semester, where and when would IEP students be scheduled for their academic support? You know, we would be taking that time period away. And then the other question they brought up was that, you know, are we fully prepared to have, you know, 500 plus students looking for a half credit elective for the other semester? So we backed up a little bit, took a step back, and looked at this and realized that there's some other opportunities that we could give our students by saying that the aquatics would be 3 days a cycle in one semester, and the grade 10 health would be 3 days a cycle in the other semester. So it would go across the entire year for these two quarter credit courses in the PE and health department. What that does is, one, it opens up 3 days a cycle for the grade 10 students who have IEPs with academic goals that indicate that they need to have X number of minutes of instruction per week. In our initial proposal, we took that time away from them. We want to give that time back to them. They need to have that additional instruction in order to help them meet their academic IEP goals. The second thing that we thought about as well is having time for remediation for our Keystone students who are not reaching proficiency the first time round, the ones that we're scheduling for retakes in December. We could schedule them in a remediation classroom where they would be working on study island tutorials. So they would be working at their own pace, but there would be a structured time that they would be assigned to be working on that. Because again, you know, asking predominantly 10th grade students who are not typically our honors level kids to work on study island on their own time outside of the school hours, a very small percentage is actually going to do that on their own time. By scheduling them based on how they did in the spring exam, we would be able to give them that structured time and work through that. Now that could work for all 3 Keystone exams if we felt that that was needed. Right now, in talking to Mr. Slopicki and Mr. O'Boyle, students that go on into their English class in 11th grade are going to continue to do literature in that 11th grade course. In math, they're going to go on into a math course where they are going to be utilizing algebra skills as well. So for most of the students, they would be able to receive some sort of remediation in their next math or English course. With biology being the choice of science discipline that the state decided to have a state exam for, when our students go on to the next science course, it's either a physics course, or it's a physical science course, or it's an earth and space course. And of the teachers that I have teach those various courses, I have one teacher that holds a biology certificate. So they do not have the background knowledge to really help the students. Up until this year, for the last 2 years, we had offered integrated science. And we had a lot of the community, I know we had discussions here as well, of the concern of assigning those students to integrated science, and then they were not able to take the next level science course. They might have to double up junior year, or maybe end up taking a science class their senior year when they were planning to take some other class. So we think these 3 days in the cycle are really going to be useful for that remediation purpose. In looking at the future, I know Ms. Wagner is looking at some elective courses to be presented next year at this time for the following school year, for 18-19, where the time in a student's schedule junior year could be utilized for remediation purposes if need be as well. And then the third option that I was made aware of is that students could sign up for possibly the cyber SAT course. And they would be meeting 3 days a cycle, but it would still give them a time. Instead of sitting in a study hall, they could utilize that time, have that structured time to work on SAT prep as well. And who knows, until the beginning of the school year next year, we might come up with some other ideas as well as we're talking with different groups of people and educators within the system itself. So that's why we're taking a back step. We're saying the students will not have that semester to pick up an additional course because we see needs for the time for other students. Okay, questions you may have?
I would just like to thank Mrs. Yardley. She helped us with this particular course and offered some suggestion, actually that the prep
The SAT,
course
yes.
came from Mrs. Yardley, and we thought, well,
Great
that's a great
idea.
idea, so thank you.
Hadn't thought of that.
Mhm.
I have some questions.
Mhm.
A lot of questions. So the IEP students who you're saying they're going to get support during those 3 days of the cycle,
Mhm.
are they getting that now?
Yes, they are.
Do they have 2 days a cycle now?
It depends on their schedule. Right now, they would have, some of them have 2 days a cycle. Depending on the grade level and depending on what their needs are, they might have academic support all 6 days of the cycle. You know, if they're a 9th grader or 11th or 12th grader.
Oh, so you're saying it would just be a separate class, not
Yes.
opposite their phys ed?
Well, yeah, it
Because I'm
could be
wondering
a separate course. If they're a 9th grader,
But they have no
they do
study
not
hours.
take it, they'll get pulled out of their elective because in their IEP, it's been written that they need this additional time of instruction.
And so you're saying that 10th graders, it depends on their level of need. Some students might have it as an elective.
They may only
And
have
so-
it 1 day a cycle. I
Okay,
mean,
and
there's some
others might
students
just-
only have it 1 day.
And so there's a support room in the high school and that's
Yes.
where they go?
Special ed teachers are assigned to an academic support classroom. The academic support classroom is one of their teaching assignments. So they are to develop a lesson plan so that they can, show what the student is working on in particular, whether they're working on their math goal or a reading goal or a writing goal, and what they're utilizing for the resource for that student as well. So that is one of their teaching assignment on their schedule. Whereas resource room is a duty period for them. And these remediation courses, for us to be able to work these, they would need to be a duty period as well.
Right, yeah. Well, that was my other question about the students who need remediation. So
Mhm.
is that actually the students will be signed up in a class for 3 days a cycle?
Yes, it'd be a non-credit class.
Okay.
So instead of having study hall 3 days a cycle for the first semester, because we're looking at the students who would be doing the retake in December, they would be assigned to this remediation course.
And so you're saying it's going to be mostly just be a biology remediation?
For the most part, we may find that we may need to assign some students for literature and for Algebra 1. We'll need to look at the individual student's schedule and see what courses they're in currently, on whether or not they will get that remediation within the classroom that they're in, or if we need to assign them separately.
Okay, and it'll be, if it's biology remediation, it'll be taught by a biology teacher or another, a science teacher?
Possibly, yes.
Okay.
I'm hoping that we can work it out so that, you know, instead of the teacher having a study hall, they would be assigned to this remediation class.
Mhm.
Like right now, I know I have at least one biology teacher that has a study hall in his schedule. So, you know, he's going to be a prime target for me to say that you're going to be doing remediation instead of the study hall.
If students are, if they don't have an IEP and they don't need remediation, so their only option then is to take that SAT prep course?
At this point, until we come up with some other options. Like I say, the SAT prep was just added to the list of options today. So if we find that there are other things that they could possibly be doing during that time, we can.
And Kara Gersh and I are looking at that too. So we're looking at, could we possibly have some other options? And then there's study hall, which we're trying to, you know, some students find that valuable and they need that time, but we want to have some options here.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, like, for the more accelerated students too, who may not want that downtime, but may not want to take the SAT prep course because they'd rather prep on their own and use that time for something else.
But you have to remember too that, well, some of the accelerated students will double up on science, so if they double up on science, and that's where this discussion started.
They lose that time.
Right,
They'll
because if
have
they
2
take,
days a cycle then,
right, if they take the chemistry,
the chemistry honors.
right, and that has 2 lab periods?
That has
or one?
one
lab
one
period.
double
So
period.
that's one of them, and then they would have 2 study halls, so
Mhm.
that is one of the options. I guess I'm trying to read through it again because I read it before. I understand the need, you know, the idea was that the 10th grade aquatics, it was too much and it was keeping out the lifeguarding classes.
Mhm.
But then we cut the lab out of physics so that it could make the scheduling easier, but we're still keeping the traditional, the scheduling that we had with phys ed in its own period, a few, you know, whatever.
Well,
3 days.
three days a cycle versus 2 days a cycle for a semester.
Right,
And
3
2 days. Yeah, right now it's 2 days a cycle for both the aquatics and the Health 10 all year.
So it was 4 days.
Yeah, so what we're doing is looking at 3 days a cycle for each, but for one semester.
Right, each one semester. And so but wasn't the idea that then we were cutting the lab out of physics so that it would make scheduling?
It makes scheduling easier for the majority of the 10th grade students.
So it'll still make scheduling easier because you won't have to match up physics with phys ed.
No.
And-
The last couple years, Ms. Wagner and Mr. Lebowski and I have been sitting down and basically hand scheduling the Physics 1 honors and the Physics 1 academic with the aquatics and the grade 10 health, basically matching section to section
Right,
so that, you know, we could get them into the schedule.
right. So we'll just be left really with 11th grade sciences with the lab.
11th and 12th grade, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
So we'll cut out a third of the work.
Yeah, that's the thought.
Yeah.
I did have one person question the removing the lab. Could you, how do you feel about that? I said that you said you can do the flipped classroom. Have you talked with other, you know, people who have done that, other schools? How does that work out generally?
Well, with us having one-to-one and having the Canvas ability of being able to set up more, you know, integration and interactiveness with the course, a lot of what we used to do in the classroom when it came to online simulations, the students can now do at home because they have access to the computer and they have access to the program. The teachers that are doing the physics academic courses have really streamlined the course to look at, you know, Yeah, we can eliminate that time period, that double period every 6 days, and be more efficient and effective in what we're doing in the classroom. And I know the Physics 1 honors teachers are looking at that this year as well. So they're eliminating some of the redundancy of some of the activities that they're doing, and looking at what is essential and make it more effective and more efficient in the delivery of the course.
So it's not that they won't ever have hands-on things happening?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
most of the labs that are done in Physics 1 honors, in fact, all the labs in Physics 1 honors and Physics 1 academic can be done in one class period, which is where the difference comes when you look at the chemistry and you look at the AP courses. A lot of the lab work they do there requires the 2 double periods, that additional length of time. So
I'll let them know.
yes, so no, we are not eliminating the hands-on.
Okay.
The kids look forward to playing with toys and
Yes,
physics, and so do the teachers.
Yes, I think we're ready to go forward with this? Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, those are the proposals. Dr. Scheid, you're going to review the district data.
Dr. while Dr. Scheid is setting up, I just want to remind the board that we thank you for your support of us educating the whole child. Before I came to Pennridge, I knew this was a district that valued performing arts and athletics and the whole picture. And just for the benefit of the community, these scores are something we're required to test our students on. We have board members that were out at the state level expressing our frustration on stress levels put on students and staff and principals due to this. Nevertheless, something we're required to do. But I just want to remind everybody that this is just one measure of a school's success. And I would say that whether we were first or last, it's just one measure of what makes a school or a district successful. So I felt I needed to just remind everybody of that. Okay, are we ready? Okay, so go to the next page. Then the first page there is our mission statement.